Alright, so now we have our first two arms done. There's some collision things, but we'll deal with that in a little bit. Now what we need to do is design a base so that we can rotate this entire thing. And the base can be a little bit interesting, so we're gonna do what we can here. I'll try to be pretty concise. I'm gonna create another part studio, and I'm gonna rename this one base. And I'll move this out of the way. So, if you look at our backhoe, the base can do quite a bit, right? There's like these tank treads, and then this whole base rotates right here. What I'm going to suggest we do is make this a little bit simpler. So instead of doing this rotating thing, we'll just do one tank tread base, and then we will focus on just that arm joint. So to do that, let's go ahead and lay out what this base looks like. And when I design a frame for a robot or something, I like to look at the top and then pull it up. So for the top of this, let's just go ahead and start with a rectangle. And then we'll do another rectangle within that. And then we want to create some kind of size standardization between the two. So we're going to say that this entire frame is 1 inch. And the distance between here and here is also 1 inch. So now I can drag this around, but those two lines stay the same distance from each other. So if we look at this, it looks kind of like a rectangle. So if we remember, our arms are 24 inches long, 18 inches long. So let's make this one 36 inches long, and we'll make it, oh, I clicked the wrong one. So if you notice, that's the inside. That's not exactly what I wanted. I'll click dimension again, click on the outside. I'm going to make that 24. I think that's a pretty good ratio. Now, in theory, we could make this our frame. It's just this one big rectangle, but in practice, it wouldn't be that strong of a structure. And the reason is, well, there's this big gaping hole right here. What you want to do is add some kind of structural support in the middle. So what we can do is click on rectangle again, and we can come over, and we can say that this dimension right here is 1 inch. It's standardized. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to focus on making 1/2 of this really structurally sound, and then we'll mirror it across this line. So to make this one sound, let's do this. Let's do L, then Q, and I'm going to click on this line, go all the way to this line, go to the center points, and you'll see why I'm doing it in a second. So now I'm going to click on line, construction again. I'm going to go to the center point of this line and draw a line across. So what this will allow me to do is kind of center and just focus on this one side right here. So let's do this. Let's click on this, click there. Actually, I lied. Let's go ahead and make a rectangle in here for the supports. So we'll click it right against there. I'm going to click on that line. I'm going to click on this line. I'm going to say that they're equal to each other. So now it's the same size. And now what I'm going to do is do some kind of triangle things. Because the triangle is one of the strongest shapes, which is pretty cool, I think. I'll click on these two lines, and actually, you know what? We'll just go ahead and skip that for now. And what we'll add is a rectangle from here to here. And I'm going to click on this line. I'm going to click on this line. I'm going to say they're equal to each other. It didn't like that. I'll try it again. That's why. So whenever it doesn't let you click it, what you can do is drag from the right to the left, and that will select anything inside it. So it's selecting a number of things, and I don't know if this is actually going to work. That did not. I'll just go ahead and click on dimension, click on these two lines, and call it 1 inch. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And now we can finally do our lines. So I'm going to click on this one, then this one, click escape, then click on this line and this line, and click escape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a construction line from this one to this one. And then I'm going to click on our construction line, that line, and I'm going to make it a right angle, make it perpendicular. And I'm going to do the same for this one. So what that means is basically that these two are parallel. Now what I want to do is I want to click on point. I want to go to the center point of this. I I want to click on line, then Q. Click there, and so we'll just make it random. I'm going to click on my line and this line. I'm going to make it perpendicular. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that line and this point, and I'm going to click on incident. And that messed everything up. So I'm going to undo that. And before I do that, I'm going to put a dimension between these two. And I'm going to call that 1 inch. That'll make sense in a second while I'm doing this. So now I'm going to click on that point and this point and hit incident, and it won't mess up. And what you notice is this is a 90-degree angle to there. And it's kind of up to you to decide if that's what you want. And in hindsight, I don't think that's what I want. So what I'm going to do is click on Show Constraints, click on our coincident point right here. Sometimes you have to drag to see them. Click on that one and click Delete. So now I can move wherever. Now what I think I want, what I've decided, is that, let's see, I want it to be even between right there and right there. So if I drew a line from here to here, and I hit all my constraints, I would want this line right there to be parallel with this line. And once I do that, that should be pretty even in terms of structural support. So that was a ton of work, and we wouldn't want to do that for everything. So now what we're going to use is the mirror tool. So I'm going to click on mirror right here, and I want to mirror it across this center line. So I'm going to I clicked on that line. Now I'm going to click on the things I want to mirror, and that'll be these two. Now I'm going to do the same for the other side right here. I'll click on mirror, I'll click on this line, click there, there, then I'll click there, and there. And now what you see is a pretty strong part. So that's only 1/2, right? And I want the whole half. So I'm going to click on mirror, I'm going to go to the center plane right here, and then I will click on all of these lines. And what am I missing? Not that one. Not that one. That one. There we go. And now it's symmetric. So I can click the check mark. I can go over here and click extrude, click on my sketch, and I'll say, oh, so we didn't trim things. So now what we have to do is go and click individually in here what we want extruded with it. And that sounds kind of annoying, and that's because it is. Basically what happened is, in theory, this triangle in here could be part of it, or these lines could, and so it doesn't know. And so when Onshape doesn't know, it's going to choose to go with the safest option, which is to just not do anything there on the middle. But luckily we know, so we can tell it, hey, this is what's important to me, this is what I want you to extrude. So I've got all my faces clicked, and I'm going to make this 3 inches tall. Because it's a frame, it's got to be pretty strong. I'm going to click the check mark. So I've got this funky looking frame, and I just need some way to mount basically mount my arm on it. So what I'm going to do is click sketch, and I'm going to click on the top of it. I'm going to click the letter N, and I'm going to come over here. I've decided that this is where I want to mount my arm. So I'm going to click on line, then construction, click on the center point, do it all the way to here, and I'm going to make 2 things. So I'm going to go and click on corner rectangle, and I want this corner to go from here to here. And I want this corner to be 1 inch wide, because that's what we've standardized. And now we get to decide how long we want that to be. Now, if you think about it, we have a 1 inch circle kind of in the middle of this. So let's draw some things out to make it easier to visualize, so we can figure out how big we want it to be. Put a line in the center, and then on the center of that line, I'll draw a line. And then I'll go ahead and click on my line in that point, and I'll click on center point, and then I'll make this 1 inch long. So that is the size of our circle, right there. So that's where basically our pivot will be. And so let's pick how big we want this to be. If we say 4 inches, that's pretty large. Actually, I went about this the wrong way. I'm going to delete that. Totally forgot. Sorry, guys. What we want to do is mirror across this line Then I'm going to select this right here. And do you remember how our base thing is 3 inches wide? So that means that from here to here it needs to be at least 3 inches. I'm going to go ahead and make it exactly 3 inches just for simplicity's sake. So I'll click on dimension, click on that line, I'll make that 3 inches. And so it'll automatically tell me how big that could be. Now I'm going to hit the check mark, and I'm going to click on extrude. I'm going to click on sketch 2, and I'm going to say I want that to be 3 inches long. So here we have these two 3-inch long blocks, and it's in theory where we're going to pivot from, but we need some things to get where we can pivot there. I'm going to click on sketch, click on the side of that, click the letter N, and I want to do in the very center of this a circle. So I'm going to go to this line right here, then I'm going to go all the way down, click on that line, hit escape, click on it again, then I'm going to go to the center point of this line, and where those two meet is the exact center of this. So I'm going to click on that, I'm going to click on dimension, I'm going to say that's 1 inch, and that's it. That's it. So now I'm going to click the check mark, go to remove, extrude, click on remove, I'm going to click on sketch 3, and I'm going to say it needs to be up to face. And for that face, I'm going to select this face right here. Then I'm going to click the check mark. And there we have the base of a frame. So it doesn't have wheels, but it is some kind of frame. So I'm going to go to my assembly, and I'm going to insert our base. Looks kind of weird. That's all right. It's because we're at an angle. So I'm going to fix our base, and then I'm going to go to this part, and I'm going to unfix it. And then what I want to do is I want to create a revolute mount between that inner circle right there and this circle right here. So if you notice it looks weird, what do? Well, we hit this button, and that flips it. And that's still weird, and that's because I picked the wrong circle. So I'm going to go ahead and escape. Happens sometimes. I'm going to click revolute. I'm going to click this inside circle, which is the one we want, and this outside circle. It looks weird. I'm going to hit this button, and it looks better. So there we go. This is kind of flipped. That's all right. That happens. But now what you see is I can move this whole thing. And so that's the arm of our backhoe. Now, a couple of notes as you're designing this. The inside of this doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be what I made. It could be your own structure. I just drew this because I liked it, and I thought that that would be a good fit. It's your design. You can just choose what you want to do with it. So that inside is one of those things that doesn't really matter as much. You know, in reality, this could have been a solid rectangle. That's totally okay. That's up to you when you design it. Anyways, so there's the first base iteration of our backhoe.